In a desperate moment of impending battle, the townspeople of Daroca held their breath as a dark cloud of fear descended upon them. Just as arrows rained down and chaos loomed, a young boy named Carlo witnessed an extraordinary act. Father Mateo raised the host, illuminating the sanctuary with a divine glow that defied nature itself. In that heartbeat of divine intervention, would faith prove to be their greatest weapon against despair? But to understand how we got to this point, we need to go back to the beginning. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. In the year 1239, the land of Spain stood on the brink of turmoil. The air was thick with tension as the armies of the Moors prepared for another strike against the Christian strongholds. The echoes of clashing swords and the cries of battle seemed to loom over the town of Daroca like a dark cloud ready to burst. The streets, once bustling with the laughter of children and the vibrant calls of merchants, now lay silent as fear seeped into every heart. In this quaint town nestled amidst the rolling hills of Aragon, families prayed fervently, clutching rosaries and joining hands in desperation. They whispered with trembling voices, recounting the tales of past victories and divine interventions. Among them, Carlo's family stood firmly rooted in their Catholic faith, their hearts united against the impending storm. The town's church, a sanctuary of hope, glowed softly in the twilight, beckoning the faithful to seek solace in prayer. As the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows over the cobblestone streets, a sense of foreboding settled in. Carlo Acutis, just 15, felt the weight of history pressing upon him. He gazed towards the old church, knowing that inside, Father Mateo de Huesca was preparing to celebrate the sacred Mass. The flickering candles illuminated the altar with a divine light, a beacon amidst the looming darkness. Carlo understood that this celebration was not merely for worship. It served as a battle cry for those standing against imminent danger. The people of Daroca were well aware of the clash between faith and fear. A few months prior, they had witnessed the Moors' relentless expansion, their armies growing bolder, threatening every corner of the realm. Yet, despite the dread that hung in the air, the spirit of the townspeople remained unbroken. They drew strength from the faith that had been passed down through generations, a shield against despair. That evening, as the bell tower chimed, signaling the hour of the Mass, townsfolk began to gather outside the church. The cacophony of their whispers filled the cool air. Some spoke of strategizing, while others shared prayers for protection. Carlo's parents stood firmly at his side, their faces etched with worry but resolved in their determination to place their trust in God. They had always taught Carlo the importance of faith and community, emphasizing that even in the face of adversity, they were never alone. Inside, Father Mateo's voice rose as he led the congregation, weaving sacred words into a tapestry of hope and resilience. He commanded the respect of the town, his absolute devotion palpable as he invoked the presence of Christ. The altar was adorned with symbols of the Eucharist, but as the Mass unfolded, the palpable tension could be felt even within the walls of the sanctuary. The sense of urgency and vulnerability increased as the congregation felt the nearness of danger lurking outside. Just as the moment of consecration approached, a sudden commotion broke out. From the distant hills, the glint of armor could be seen, betraying the Moors' approach. Muscles tensed and breaths quickened. The townsfolk exchanged alarmed glances, the fear creeping back into their lives like an unwelcome shadow. The intense moment during Mass grew heavier as those praying felt the undeniable pull of impending battle. Carlo's heart raced. He had read of battles, seen illustrations of knightly courage, but now this was real. This was a fight for their lives, a clash that would determine their fate. Would their faith protect them? Would they find strength in their shared beliefs? 1,000 thoughts swirled in his mind as he caught glimpses of the soldiers outside, bracing themselves for the fight ahead. Then, in the quiet of the sanctuary, amid the chaotic thoughts and the rising panic, Father Mateo raised the host high above his head. The moment felt infinite, suspended between the sacred and the profane, where heaven and earth seemed to collide. Those inside the church had no idea how this single act would resonate beyond time, transcending their greatest fears and hopes. With the sacred prayer echoing through the chamber, the flames of the candles flickered, and a soft breeze whispered through the open doors. Unbeknownst to them, they were not just partaking in a ritual, but stepping into a moment that would redefine faith itself. The soldiers outside braced for the coming storm, feeling their hearts pounding in synchronization with the rhythms of the Mass. As the first arrows ascended into the dimming sky, an inexplicable surge of strength emerged within the faithful. The line between divine protection and human resolve began to blur, paving the way for a miracle that would soon unfold. Father Mateo's voice rang clearly, a powerful testament of faith in the face of fear. The battle was about to begin, and destiny awaited just beyond the church doors. Would this moment of devotion solidify their faith or unravel it entirely? As the atmosphere shivered with anticipation, the people of Daroca held their breath, caught between the world of the sacred and the chaos of impending warfare. The tension in the air could be felt with every heartbeat, as if the very fabric of reality had been woven together with strands of fear and hope. Living a clash of emotions, the faithful inside the church stood united, their prayers cascading toward the heavens. Outside the stone walls, the gathering storm of battle loomed ever closer. The Moors, fierce and unyielding, were determined to seize Daroca from the hands of its defenders. Rodrigo, a young knight among the Christian soldiers, felt the weight of destiny resting heavily upon him. The familiar glint of his sword shimmered in the fading light, embodying all that he fought for: his family, his faith, and the very soul of Daroca. Glancing back at the church, he took note of the looming shadow that its spire cast upon the battlefield. It was a symbol of hope, stirring his heart and igniting a flame within. Today, we fight not just for ourselves, but for something greater, he thought, focusing on the sight of Father Mateo just inside the church, a beacon of faith amidst the maelstrom. As the first volleys of arrows cascaded down, striking the earth and embedding themselves in the ground, chaos erupted in a cacophony of ringing steel and battle cries. The defenders felt the visceral sensation of both fervor and dread coursing through their veins. "For God and for Daroca," they roared, a battle cry that surged through the ranks of warriors, unifying them in purpose. The sound echoed far and wide, reaching the ears of each soldier and igniting a fireball of bravery. But it wasn't just the fervor of soldiers that transformed the landscape. It was the unwavering presence of faith that reverberated through the air. Inside the church, Father Mateo continued to lead the congregation in a heartfelt prayer. His voice, unwavering even amidst chaos, urged them to seek the solace of God's grace. The glow of the host intensified, wrapping the faithful in an invisible embrace. "May our hearts be like the sacred bread, strengthened and unyielding," he intoned. Preserve the original language of divine protection as the tension outside thickened. Carlo stood with his parents, eyes wide and heart racing, as the battle unfolded like a tragic dance. He could hear the distant clash of swords and the cries of valor hanging in the air. Each sound seemed amplified, a reminder of the realities they faced. He saw Rodrigo, confident and alive, charging forth with unbridled passion and resolve. This made Carlo's heart swell with both admiration and yearning. He wanted that courage, that strength to face whatever lay ahead. Outside, the Moors surged forward, maneuvering with calculated precision. Ibn Qasim, emboldened by the sight of his warriors, sought to break through the lines of the Christians. The gleam of his sword caught the light, shining ominously as he rallied his troops, shouting commands layered with authority. "Do not falter, we shall take this town, and glory will be ours."
His voice rang through the air, melding with the sound of battle and weaving a tapestry of conflict. But within the heart of the church, a different battle was taking shape, a battle of the Spirit. As Father Mateo's prayers mingled with the clamor outside, the faithful felt something shift. Inspired by the miracle they were witnessing, courage surged among them. Mothers, fathers, children, and warriors, all sensing that faith was their greatest weapon. They stood in defiance of the fear that threatened to consume them. Male and female voices rang out, harmonizing in prayers that melded their energies, trailing up to the heavens. Then, the climax of that prayerful unity crystallized as Father Mateo lifted the host once more, a luminous sign of hope. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, let us unite our spirits against the darkness. His voice resounded through the church, awakening the hearts of those present. As he raised the host high, a brilliant light expelled the darkness and filled the air with the ethereal fragrance of faith.
As the host glimmered with divine luminosity, outside the church walls, arrows began falling into the ranks of the Moors as if guided by an unseen hand. The tide of battle swelled and crashed against them. The numbers of men bound by faith and fortified by light began to surrender their fears in exchange for valiance. Carlo felt something shift within him. A burning resolve took hold. He drew closer to the pew where his parents stood resolute, unsure yet devout. "We cannot just stand here," he murmured, the desire to fight igniting a fire within him. "We must join them." The words escaped him, a torrent of passion fueled by the fervent prayer echoing through the walls of the church. His parents exchanged a glance, recognizing that strength and courage pulsed through Carlo. In their hearts they sensed it too. The determination to stand with their fellow townsfolk was undeniable. "Then we shall go together," his mother whispered, determination sparking in her eyes. "For our faith, for Daroca." They stepped beyond the threshold of the sacred church with hearts ablaze, joining the throng of the faithful and the soldiers. The miraculous glow of the host shone like a beacon in the chaos outside, offering courage and comfort amidst the crimson carnage of battle. As they advanced into the fray, the air crackled with anticipation. Carlo stood side by side with soldiers, their hearts synchronized in a beautiful rhythm of faith-driven energy. The battlefield was no longer just an expanse of mud and chaos. It was a closer communion with the divine than ever before, a testament to the power of their unified belief. With renewed vigor, they surged forward, swords raised high, faith blazing forth as they charged into the tempest of combat. The clashing of steel rang fiercely, drowning out the cries of despair and enveloping the town within a powerful embrace of hope and devotion. Each soldier felt as if the very presence of God was guiding their blades, leading them toward the victory that seemed, up until this moment, a mere whisper of possibility. In that moment of convergence, where heaven's glory met earth's turmoil, everything changed. As the light emanated from the host, illuminating their path, the tide of battle turned. The miraculous strengthened their resolve, emboldened their spirits, and ignited a surge of faith that resonated through every fiber of their being. It became clear that God had not abandoned them, but instead had sent forth a miracle to guide them through the darkness of battle, an act of divine intercession that would redefine their struggle and reshape their destinies forever. The clash of swords surged through the air as Carlo sprinted into the fray, his heart pounding in rhythm with the fervor of battle. The battlefield transformed into a cacophony of sound and fury, yet amid the chaos, a palpable aura of divine presence emanated from the consecrated host, still held aloft by Father Mateo. It was as if heaven itself had descended to meet the earthly conflict, enveloping the warriors of Daroca in a shield of unwavering faith. Carlo felt the strength of those around him, the solidarity born from shared conviction. Each swing of his sword echoed a prayer, his every step a testament to their collective trust in God's protection. The air felt charged, resonating with energy that pulsed through him, awakening an intrinsic courage he never knew he possessed.
As he surged toward the enemy line, he glimpsed Rodrigo rallying the soldiers, fierce and undeterred, his voice ringing with determination. "For God, for our families, onward!" The Moors pressed in heavily, their numbers daunting, yet they faltered as the light from the host illuminated the shadows of despair that threatened to consume the Christians. The oncoming tide of foes did not seem as fearsome now, dulling their menacing edge against the brilliance of faith emboldened by the divine miracle. "Stand firm!"
"Remember your prayers," shouted Father Mateo, his voice threading through the chaos, a lifeline that anchored their resolve. Around him, the church's defenders rallied, charging forward with newfound strength, each step imbued with purpose. Arrows rained down, but they became mere trifles against the spirited souls, each warrior driven by a luminous faith that forged an invisible barrier against despair. As Carlo swung his sword, he found himself losing grip on fear. Instead, he embraced the clarity of purpose, drawing deeply from the courage spilling into him alongside the light, shaping him into an unyielding force. The clash of steel upon steel rang like the vibrant notes of a heavenly hymn, a melody that rose above the fracas, a symphony of resilience. "Push them back!" Rodrigo cheered, urgency weaving through his voice. Carlo, driven by adrenaline, charged fiercely, plunging into the fray, where a Moorish warrior met him with a vicious glance. Their swords clashed, a shockwave of force radiating through both fighters. The Moor, a fierce adversary, scowled and swung his weapon with deadly precision. Carlo edged back just in time, barely evading the momentum of the blow. Amidst the duel, Carlo caught a glimpse of the staggering soldiers around them and felt a surge of inspiration and courage. He fought not just for his town, but for every person whose faith illuminated their hearts. The unity of families, the legacy of unyielding devotion, and hope anchored in the divine grace represented by the host. He remembered the terrified faces he had seen just days ago, the feelings of helplessness now eclipsed by the determination in all their hearts. Feeling emboldened, he stepped forward and retaliated with a swift, determined strike of his sword, finding purchase against the armor of his opponent. The Moor reeled backward, stunned by the force and conviction fueling Carlo's strength. "Know that you fight against the faithful," he shouted.
Words propelled by the fervor of belief that surged through him, echoing the proclamations of Father Mateo. With every swing, the chants of prayer swirled through the air, mingling with the metallic clattering of battle, a tangible charge that invigorated the warriors of Daroca, pushing them forward. Just then, the air thickened with an unexpected reverberation. An arrow, propelled with fierce velocity, soared towards Father Mateo. Carlo, witnessing the peril unfold in slow motion, couldn't believe what he saw. It appeared to be an inevitable fate as the dark shadow of the projectile hurtled forward. But in that electrifying moment, the host replied with a radiant brilliance. As if defying the very laws of nature, the arrow halted mid-flight, suspended in an ethereal blow that radiated from the host. Gasps erupted across the battlefield like thunder, disbelief striking both soldiers and attackers alike. The arrow trembled momentarily, then fell harmlessly to the ground. Carlo felt the ground pulse beneath his feet, each heartbeat reaffirming that a miracle indeed was unfolding. Suddenly, the very moment galvanized the soldiers, igniting a collective roar. "God is with us! Forward!" They surged ahead, bolstered by the miracle they had just witnessed, a shared history now etched in the fabric of their fight. Carlo followed, charging into the advancing lines of Moors, a crescendo of faith and fervor propelling every soldier of Daroca past fear and into triumph. Each blow served to rally their position. The Moors, once so confident, began to feel the weight of an unseen force against them. Disbelief crept into their ranks, and murmurs of confusion spread like wildfire. Their feet shuffled back as the glow of faith cut through the fog, illuminating faces that, moments before, had been shadowed by the pall of despair. In the midst of the melee, the tide turned even further. The previously unified lines of the Moorish soldiers faltered under the relentless charge fueled by their Christian compatriots. Carlo, amidst the throng, felt the miraculous energy surge through him, igniting in him the soul of a warrior. He struck again and again. Each blow delivered came from a place deeper than just instinct, propelled forward by love. Love for God, love for his family, and love for his town. It resonated like a drumbeat, synchronizing with the breaths of every soul around him. Desperate to reclaim control, Ibn Qasim pressed forward, barking orders. "Hold your ground, push them back, we are not defeated." Yet as he called upon his men, the resolute cries from the Christians resonated louder, their combined voices creating an unbreakable wall against despair. With the miraculous glow still illuminating the field, Carlo found strength drawn from all corners, his past, his family, his community. And at that very moment he made a decisive move, darting forward and striking down the opposing warrior before him. His heart soared as he beheld the retreat of the Moors, their disciplined lines breaking apart under the sheer weight of faith. As fear took root on the faces of the Moors, many began to flee. Carlo realized that they weren't just fighting for survival, they were part of a greater story, one that would etch itself into history. The battle continued to unfold, the intensity rising with every retreating footstep across the dirt. In a victory wrought by divine intervention, the defenders of Daroca surged, fueled by invisible currents of grace that cascaded onto the blood-soaked soil. Carlo's heart beat louder than the clash of weapons, and for each enemy that fell, each soldier that rejoiced, victory felt ever more tangible. Hand in hand with faith, they carved a future shaped by unwavering belief. And as they pushed forward until the last Moor fled, a great cheer rose from the very soul of Daroca, a manifestation of unity, resilience, and the enduring presence of God amid their darkest hour. The miracle born that day would not only save their town, but would ripple through time, echoing in the hearts of generations yet to come. The dust began to settle over the battleground as the echoes of clashing steel and cries of valor faded into the stillness of victory. As the final Moorish warriors retreated, the Christians who had fought with unwavering faith paused to take in the moment, exhausted but triumphant. The sun, having begun its descent, cast a golden hue over the chaos, framing their victory in a divine light that felt almost sacred. Carlo surveyed the battlefield, a mixture of relief and disbelief washing over him. In the distance, the outline of the retreating Moorish forces became a haunting reminder that they had stood against an overwhelming tide and emerged victorious. As he caught his breath, he was drawn toward the figures of his fellow townsfolk, each face marked by a combination of exhaustion, disbelief, and sheer elation. They had fought not merely for their lives, but for the very essence of their faith. Rodrigo approached Carlo, clapping him on the shoulder with fierce pride glowing in his eyes. "You fought like a true warrior today. Your spirit brought us strength." A wide grin spread across his face, and Carlo felt a rush of warmth flood through him. The stories of heroism he had read in books were now transformed into his reality. He was part of this triumph, part of a story he would tell for generations. But as victory began to sink in, Carlo's heart grew heavy. He thought of those who had fallen, the brave souls whose lives were lost in the heat of battle. It was a bittersweet triumph. He turned to see Father Mateo standing at the front of the church, the miraculous host still raised high, glowing with an otherworldly radiance. The sight stirred something deep within Carlo, and he joined the throng of townsfolk sliding toward the church, drawn by the light that seemed to welcome them home. "We will honor those we lost today," Father Mateo announced, his voice steady, imbuing the atmosphere with reverence. The congregation fell into a somber hush, gathering as a collective body of hearts united in faith and grief. "We fought not just for ourselves, but for our families, our faith, our very lives. Let us remember and celebrate the bravery of our falling brothers and sisters." As he spoke, Carlo's mind raced back to the battle. The faces of the fallen flashed before him, brave men who had stood shoulder to shoulder with him. A knot twisted in his stomach, grappling with sorrow and gratitude. They hadn't just perished, they had infused their last moments with courage, ensuring a future for the people of Daroca. The sacrifices made today would not be forgotten. Father Mateo moved closer to the altar, the soft glow of candles flickering around him, illuminating the warmth of his smile. Join me in prayer, my dear friends, for they are the heroes who have walked among us and now dwell in the embrace of God. Let us ask for their intercession, that we may forever remember the power of faith in moments of doubt and fear. Together they knelt, thousands of voices rising in unison. Prayers echoed through the sacred building, stirring the air with hope and loss, inviting the loving spirit of those gone to envelop them. The host's light pulsed, seeming to attune itself with the rising chorus, becoming a bridge from the earthly realm to the heavenly. In that moment, Carlo's heart swelled with faith. He closed his eyes and reached out, imagining the warm embrace of the loved ones they had fought for, those families whose hearts were forever tethered to the souls that had perished. "I promise to keep their memories alive," he whispered, a vow sealed in the depths of his spirit. As their prayers echoed, the townsfolk felt renewed. Emerging from the sanctuary, the golden light of victory enveloped them, creating a luminous tapestry upon which they would weave their future. The murmurs of hope replaced fear. The energy surrounding them pulsated with a spirit of resilience that would define a new era for Daroca. The days that followed were defined by a mix of mourning and celebration. Each evening, townsfolk would gather to light candles in memory of the fallen. Stories of heroism were exchanged over warm meals as laughter intertwined with tears. A tapestry of hope spun amidst grief. Families grew closer, their bonds strengthened by the shared experience of battle. The lessons learned in the heat of conflict became a guiding force, shaping their lives moving forward. As the sun set upon Daroca, Carlo found himself staring at the stars, feeling their gentle pull. "I will carry your light," he murmured to the heroes above. He understood that the sacrifice of their lives had forged a legacy, a collective story that would be passed down through time. The very essence of faith was now etched into the fabric of their community. Reminders of victories and losses, the intertwining of divine grace in everyday life. Weeks passed and Daroca began to flourish again, but the lessons of the battle remained alive in the hearts of its people. They transformed the very ground where they had fought into a place of reverent remembrance, a memorial for those who had given everything. Wooden crosses adorned the hills, a painted testament to bravery, love, and fidelity to the virtues that had once felt fragile amidst the dread of war. Carlo often visited where they had fought, staring toward the horizon and contemplating the unity that battle had forged within him. He experienced the miraculous connection stronger than he had ever sensed before, a bond with those who had come before him. They were a lineage of faith and hope, a family woven together through the fabric of history. In time, Carlo followed in Father Mateo's footsteps.
Inspired by the miracle witnessed in the heat of battle, he committed himself to studying the Eucharist and spreading the Word of God wherever he could. The memory of the battle would guide him forward, a perpetual reminder of the transformative strength forged from unity, love, and unwavering faith. As years rolled on, the story of Daroca spread beyond the valley, whispered through the towns and villages, rippling across time. It became more than a tale of warfare. It transformed into a legacy of faith, an everlasting homage to the generations of men and women who stood firm against adversity, unyielding under the grace of God. In the end, the battle was not merely a fight for survival. It was a testament to the indelible truth that faith can move mountains, heal deep wounds, and unite even the most disparate of souls. As Carlo walked through the town, hearts lifted by memories of bravery and divine intercession, he carried the assurance of hope, knowing he was part of something far greater than himself. The miracle of Daroca resided not only in history, but within each person who had lived, loved, and fought for their beliefs, an eternal flame flickering brightly, guiding them home. As the years continued to roll by, the town of Daroca thrived, a vibrant community pulsating with life and faith. The sight of wooden crosses adorning the hills served as a constant reminder of the sacrifices made during that pivotal battle, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Each anniversary brought townsfolk together to celebrate the miracle that had fortified their community, reminding them of the unwavering power of faith in the face of adversity. Carlo, now a respected figure in the community, shared the story of the miraculous events of their past with fervor. His voice carried the weight of history, echoing through the cobblestone streets, inspiring younger generations to hold firm to their faith. "Remember the day when our despair turned into hope," he would say as children gathered around him, their eyes wide with curiosity. "That was the day our God showed us that love and unity could conquer any darkness." One crisp spring day, he stood before a gathering in the heart of the town square, where flowers bloomed vibrantly, symbolizing renewal. "Today, we honor not just the lives lost, but the spirit that lives on in each of us." The miracle of that day was not an isolated event. It is an ever-flowing river of faith that grants us strength every single day. The townsfolk joined him in reflection, their hearts entwined with gratitude and remembrance. Every story shared contributed to the town's legacy, weaving a rich tapestry of valor and devotion that brought them closer to one another and to God. The miracle of the Eucharist, which had guided them through the perilous times, continued to inspire their lives. In the following months, news of Daroca's resilience and miraculous history began to travel beyond its borders. Visitors flocked from neighboring regions and distant lands, seeking wisdom and refuge in the stories that echoed through the town. They came with hearts yearning for inspiration, believing that the power of faith could transform their own struggles. As pilgrims arrived, Carlo welcomed them warmly, sharing the stories that had shaped his and their town's identity. He spoke of the day the host glowed with divine light, the bravery of the warriors who fought with unshakable conviction, and the sacred bond that had formed within the community as they faced their darkest hour. Each tale resonated with those who came, a reminder of the strength found within faith and unity. One day, an elderly woman named Emilia journeyed from a far-off village, walking with a cane but driven by her mission to find healing. She had heard of the power of the miracle and was skeptical yet hopeful. As she approached Daroca's threshold, she took a deep breath. Inhaling the sweet scent of blooming flowers, mingling with the rich aromas of home-cooked meals. Carlo noticed her weary form as she entered the town square, where a group of children were weaving colorful garlands from flowers to decorate a makeshift altar. He approached Emilia, a warm smile lighting his face. "Welcome to Daroca," he said, offering her a supportive hand. "Tell me what brings you here." With tears glistening in her eyes, Emilia replied, "I have heard your stories of faith, but I have lost so much. I seek healing for my heart. I am searching for something I fear I may never find." Carlo listened intently, feeling the weight of her pain. "The miracle of our town is that faith can mend broken spirits. Join us for our evening prayer this night. You will find that you are not alone." As twilight approached, the townsfolk gathered in the square, lanterns lighting up around the altar that had been adorned with flowers, symbols of life and love. Emilia stood among them, surrounded by a community that shared her burdens. The air was charged with anticipation and reverence as Carlo stepped forward, ready to lead them in prayer. "Let us remember that healing is not always immediate, but begins with a single step of faith," he proclaimed.
The crowd bowed their heads, and as he began to recite prayers, a sense of warmth enveloped them, the light flickering in time with their hearts, a rhythmic reminder of unity in their hopes. As he led the gathering in song, the melody soared high, intertwining voices echoing off the stone buildings, reaching into the heavens. Carlo glanced at Amelia, who gripped her cane tightly, yet it seemed a smile was beginning to form on her lips. Her spirit was awakening to the connection that enveloped them all, a reminder that hope was never lost, merely transformed. Each note sung became a thread woven into the fabric of their stories, each line shared binding their hearts closer together. By the end of the evening, as the last note faded into the night, Carlo turned to Amelia. Tonight, let us remember that healing can be found in a single moment, a shared memory, or the power of connection. You have joined in our spirit. Let the miracle fill your heart. As the lantern light flickered, Amelia felt warmth coursing through her veins, uncertainty vexing her spirit. It felt like love had opened the door to healing, filling the void she had carried for so long. She smiled through her tears, knowing that she had finally found her way home, not just to a town, but to a community that thrived on faith and love. In the months that followed, Amelia blossomed, finding her place among the townsfolk, her heart gradually mending. She shared her own stories of hope and healing with others, becoming part of the legacy that continued to bloom in Daroca. As the seasons shifted, the town, once battered by conflict, became recognized as a sanctuary of hope and inspiration, a place where the story of the miraculous Eucharist served as a guiding light. Carlo's commitment to sharing the tale cemented the connection between hearts and history, weaving a future brightened by the promise of resurrection that faith offers. With the passage of time, Daroca stood as a beacon, a testament to the enduring truth that through love and unity one could overcome any despair. The hearts of all who had passed through its embrace carried the miracle with them, kindled by belief, forever a part of the eternal flame that guided them home. As the years continued their gentle march, Daroca glimmered ever brighter as a refuge of hope and inspiration, its legend echoing through the valleys and reaching far beyond the borders of its quaint cobblestone streets. The miraculous events that had transpired years before became woven into the fabric of the town's identity, and Carlo, now a figure of wisdom and love, took great care to share these stories with all who would listen. Every year, the townsfolk held the Festival of Faith, a grand celebration that marked the anniversary of their miraculous victory over despair and adversity. The square would be adorned with vibrant flowers, colorful banners, and the sound of joyful laughter as families gathered to recount tales of triumph. In this setting, the spirit of unity shone brighter than ever, binding the community together in a tapestry of memories and shared experience. In anticipation of the festival, Carlo prepared fervently, ensuring that every detail honored the legacy of the town's journey, from the tales of the courageous warriors to the story of the miraculous Eucharist that had shone like a beacon during their darkest hour. He felt a deep sense of responsibility to convey not only the miracles but the lessons learned, the importance of love, compassion, and unwavering faith. On the day of the festival, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement. Children raced around, their laughter mingling with the gentle melodies of musicians tuning their instruments. Visitors from neighboring towns began to gather, drawn by the tales of Daroca's resilient spirit. As the sun climbed higher, casting warm rays across the town square, Carlo felt a surge of pride and hope for the legacy they were perpetuating. As the ceremony began, Father Mateo, though older, stood tall at the forefront, equipped with wisdom that captivated everyone present. Today, we celebrate not merely our past, but also the strength we draw from one another, he proclaimed, his voice resonant. Let us remember that faith is alive and breathing. It is in every act of kindness, every shared embrace, and every story of hope we pass on. He turned to face the assembled crowd, his eyes sweeping over the sea of faces filled with anticipation. Let each story shared today spark a new flame in someone's heart. Let these flames weave together until we are bound by the warmth of love and compassion. With that, as the first light of evening began to spill across the sky, children danced around a grand bonfire set in the center of the square, their movements a joyful expression of camaraderie. Carlo watched with joy as familiar faces joined him by the fire. Emilia, her laughter bright and inviting, the others who had journeyed together through healing and grief, all of them a testament to the power of connection. As dusk settled, Carlo took to the stage, his heart racing with a mix of excitement and gratitude. Today we stand together because of the strength found in unity. Our story has traveled far, filling hearts that yearn for hope, he began, feeling a palpable energy emanating from the crowd. He recounted tales of bravery, the spellbinding moments where faith led them through the storm. One story flowed into another, igniting the crowd's spirits. The language of love hung in the air as the townsfolk began sharing their stories too, tales of healing, forgiveness, and revival. Each anecdote built upon the next, creating an intricate web of faith that surrounded them all. As the fire crackled softly, a powerful reflection rolled through the crowd. Emilia, inspired by the moment, stood and shared her own journey, a heartfelt testimony that blossomed in careful words, emboldened by reflection on the love and acceptance she had found. This town embraced me when I thought I was lost. My heart was healed not just by time, but by the love you all shared with me. The miracle of Daroca is alive in every one of us. Applause erupted, warmth rushing through them all, as her words resonated deeply. Carlo felt a swell of admiration as he watched her transform in the light of unity and love. And as night cloaked the sky in its deep embrace, the festival became a vivid reminder that Daroca was more than a location. It was a living testament of faith forged through the trials of life. The stories exchanged beneath the stars glimmered with hope, becoming part of the town's heartbeat, a promise to cherish and nurture what had been built together. At that moment, the spirit of Daroca thrived anew, each person glowing with the light of shared miracles, feeling it igniting within their hearts. This legacy of love transcended time, guiding them collectively toward a future filled with hope. United, they understood that the miracle of Daroca was not confined to the tales told. It was alive in every action they took, echoing the belief that through love and steadfast faith, they could face any trial together. As the stars twinkled overhead, Carlo felt gratitude wash over him. Amidst laughter and tears, he realized they were custodians of a legacy that would endure. Each shared moment of love, healing, and faith created ripples that would guide future generations back home to the heart of Daroca, a sanctuary illuminated by miraculous faith, forever entwined with the beauty of love and community. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. To hear the next story, click the box on the left. Thanks for watching.